Hey everyone, it's Mr. Anderson. We are in our last video from our Chapter 3 Common Core Algebra CP/M text. It is section 3.3.3 that we're going to talk about today. And just a reminder that you can find this section in your CP/M ebook. Open up Chapter 3 and you can scroll down. It is the very last one here. And we're going to talk about everything that we've been working toward solving so far. And we're just going to have a little bit of a quick review on how to do some of these things and why they matter. You're going to check out this video. You're going to see me solve a wide variety of items, and all of which are really important. There is effectively one problem in the learning log in section 3.3.3. This one problem does have several parts. I'm not going to do all of these things. And then you can see the learning log. I challenge you to check out 3-106 individually. And if you really want to push yourself, you can write this response, but it's definitely worth thinking about the question that's asked and then how you might respond, because if you're asked to formalize that thought, it's going to make it more powerful, and you're going to have a better understanding of the process. So I challenge you to do that individually. And then, of course, there is a math methods and meanings for your math notes piece that you can check out, generic rectangles, and you can review this idea, because I'm not going to spend time reviewing this idea in this video. Okay, here's our notes, and we've got section 3-105, or excuse me, problem 3-105. And one more time, as I mentioned, we are going to do a review or a summary of solving equations, and what kinds of equations can I solve is the question that we're asked. You're far more powerful now, I promise, than you were when we started this unit, but you've still got a long ways to go. Please do not think that this encompasses everything that there is to solve mathematically in terms of equations, because as you grow as a mathematician, you will grow as a problem solver and equation solver. And we're using some of these things as vehicles to set up skills. 105 is no difference here. Okay, I'm going to go through some of these problems, and I'm going to show you what kinds of things would be expected for work. And it's always important to show your work and record these steps, because they help us see process, right? The product is definitely important, but as a student, I want to see your process, because then I know what kind of understanding that you have. I'm not going to do these in order. I've got a couple highlighted here that we are going to check out, and I'm going to start with E, okay? Check it out. In problem number E, or problem 3-105, letter E, we're asked to solve for X. We have a single variable linear equation. This shouldn't be too bad. It does have some stuff going on, but they're all manageable items, right? Check it out. First, in our order of operations, we would have to mess with those parentheses. We can't do the subtraction. There's no way we can take a 2x and subtract 1. So in order to skirt that subtraction, we use this thing called the distributive property. So I'm going to start by distributing and rewriting. Again, I want to make sure I'm showing that work. Now, you maybe don't need to write out that multiplication. Maybe you just want to go ahead and actually do it. But if you want to write it out, you definitely can. All right. This is then going to be 2 minus 6x minus 3 equals 17. And now let's go ahead and combine these like terms. I've got those two items there. And then 2 minus 3, right, is going to be negative 1 minus 6x equals 17. And now I will have to work a little bit to the right. That shouldn't be too bad, though. When I go ahead and do this, I'm going to draw my arrow up there, and I will just remind you that I'm going to do the opposite here. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So I will have then negative 6x equals 17, and 1 make 18. And then finally, I'm going to divide everything by negative 6. And x is equal to negative 3. Okay? There's a way, of course, you could check that. You could plug that back into the original equation, and you've got the ability to check, do your equations balance, right? All right, so there is arguably one of the easier ones that we're able to do, right? One equation, one variable, we get a nice integer solution, right? That's a good problem to start with. Next, we're going to go ahead, I'm going to zoom back out, and I'm going to dive into something arguably a little bit more complex, only because of the way it appears, right? But remember, perception is reality. So we're going to go ahead and try to strip some of the dread, so to speak, from a problem like letter H. I'll do this one in a different color so it stands out. All right, in letter H, same start, we've got to distribute first. So I'm going to distribute this x through this set of parentheses, and when I multiply x times 2x, I do get a 2x squared. I multiply x times -1, I get a -1x, and this right here looks like it's going to set up to be pretty tough. And if you're looking at this and you're going, holy cow, Anderson, I've got a problem that I don't know how to solve it because it's got a square term on each side. It's a quadratic. Remember, this is that situation where we've got algebra tiles, and if we've got the same thing on each side, you can essentially drop it by subtracting the 2x squared from both sides. So in this case, I think it's wise to do that and then rewrite what you've got, and this problem looks a whole lot easier. Okay, now check this out. I've got -1x equals 5x minus 12, and now I'm simply just going to subtract 5x from both sides. And doing so allows that to cancel. I'm left with -12. Let's rewrite that, clean it up a little bit. -12, and -1x minus 5x is -6x. And I'll go this direction. -6x equals -12, and now I'm just going to divide everything by -6 one more time. And again, we've got a nice integer solution. Works out pretty well. All right. If at any point you need to pause this and take some notes, go ahead and do so. But for the sake of time and the sake of keeping this video short, let's go ahead and keep on keeping on. I'm going to move on to something that's a little bit more complex, not terribly more complex, but letter F is the next one I'm going to choose. And the reason I'm going to choose letter F next is because letter F is an absolute value equation, but we are going to have, of course, we're going to have nice integer solutions, but we're going to have two solutions, right? So a little step up in difficulty. I'll remind you, when we're talking about the absolute value of something, we're talking about its distance from zero. And in this case, I've got the absolute value bars isolated, so I want to know how far away is that thing from zero, and specifically what two values for that are 3 units from zero, right? And the way, and if what I'm talking about is like totally, seems like I'm speaking an alien language, you can go ahead and check out our video on absolute values, right? Just got to back up a little bit in the chapter, but we can go like this, and I can drop the absolute value bars, and I can just do that. And I can say 3 minus 5y equals 3, and I'm in great shape. But because we're talking about distance from zero, and because we've got something on either side of zero, I've got to do this as well. Okay. And now, ladies and gents, the solve is on. I can subtract 3 from both sides here. I'll do this one first. These cancel. I get -5y equals 0. Well, that's pretty easy. If -5 times something equals 0, that something's got to be 0, right? And you can divide by -5 to confirm that, but y is, in this case, 0. So we're in okay shape there. All right. If I just stop there, though, I don't have this thing totally done. I've got to solve the other side as well. And I will subtract 3 from here as well. I get -5y equals -6. And then I'll divide both sides by -5. And this one, you may need a calculator for. I'm just going to slide that over. Oh, it's not going to slide over. Shoot, I'm out of space. Let me go up. I'll go this direction here. And I get y is, of course, the negatives cancel here. Negatives are going to cancel here as well. And 6 divided by 5 is 1.2. You could, of course, leave that as 6/5 if you wanted as well. Positive 1.2. So I've got two solutions to this problem here. I've got 0 and 1.2. All right? One more time, at any time, you can pause this, you could complete a note here, but I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to move on to something a little bit more complex, and what I'll move on to is letter D. Letter D, recall, folks, we've got an equation in standard form. And the equation's in standard form, they're asking me to solve for y. It's effectively saying, hey, can you do this in slope-intercept form, or can you rewrite this in slope-intercept form? And I'm going to work upwards on this one just to give myself a little bit more space. And I would start by taking something like this. Again, I'm doing letter D. I would start, let me just rewrite it. And I'm not going to do B, so I'll just get rid of that. Okay, I'd start by subtracting 3x from both sides. And I don't want to stack that simply because I want the 3x, I want it clear to me that the 3x and the negative 3x, sorry, and the 24 are distinct non-like terms, right? So I'm writing those things separately. Then I'm going to get rid of this 6 by dividing everything, each term by 6. Okay, and over here on the left, they're going to cancel. Okay, and then over here on the right, I can simplify some of these things. Negative 3 over 6 is negative 1/2 x, and the 24 divided by 6 is 4. Okay, check that out because I've got a bit different looking of a solution there. The reason I do, I'll draw your attention to this, is I've got two variables in this problem. I've got an x and a y, and I'm just being asked to solve for one of them. And this is what creates a line for us when we go to graph this mathematically, because we have y vary as x changes. And that's a pretty important concept that we've been working on since the beginning of the year. Okay, last one of these things, just a little bonus one for you. I've got letter A, and letter A is a fairly famous equation. And I'll be honest, I know it's, Einstein's has to do with Einstein's theory of relativity and its energy and mass relation, but I couldn't tell you much about it. Just a little higher end solving here. We want to get C all by itself here. And in order to do this, I'm going to rewrite this with one specific change. Okay? I just took that and I rewrote it so it had a multiplication symbol obvious, right? When we have MC squared, it's implied that we're multiplying, but now it's very, very clear. And in order to get the C by itself and get rid of that M, I'm going to divide both sides by M. And check out what happens here. The M's on the right cancel. And this is where you might stop, but I'll remind you of something in a second here. You've got C equals capital E over M. And what that's telling you, I believe, is that, actually, I'm not even 100% positive what the C stands for, but the E is energy, M is mass. But what that's telling you is we've got C squared equals E over M, and the thing that means we're not done is I've got that square there. So I want to get that square eliminated, and what I'll do here is, and this might be the new piece for you, might be a bit of new learning. In order to cancel a square, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a square root, and I can just rewrite this. It should be pretty manageable. The square and the square root cancel each other out. So if that's not abundantly clear, let's make it. We can strike those two items. And then over on the left-hand side, I've got to actually leave this like this. And we could spend time arguing about rationalizing the denominator, but for right now, this is going to be plenty good for us. So what we've got, and if you don't like the order, rewrite it. C equals the square root of E divided by M. If you're working with a calculator, maybe you need to add parentheses to those. But it should be pretty clear that that radical symbol, that square root symbol, is tall, and it extends over the entire fraction, both numerator and denominator. So that radical is a grouping symbol there for us. Okay, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. We did them pretty quick. Feel free to back up and check out any of those items. But our goal today, and I think we accomplished our goal, is just to check out what we're able to do and review a little bit of how to do it. So that is there for you. This will be here whenever it is you need it. The review and preview today, there's just 3 problems. It should go pretty quick for you. It's just numbers 107 to 109, and one more time, the goal is to have you guys reviewing some of those skills, those concepts, as well as tying it back into graphing and writing equations and stuff like that. Okay, thank you so much for your time. You made it to the end of Chapter 3. Well done. Folks, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.